All right. Welcome. Hey, I apologize. We had some technical difficulties there, but we got it resolved, and we're here a few minutes late. But we are right on time, right? So, hey, I'm James Oliver Jr., managing partner of Kabila Ventures, a new venture firm coming soon. CEO of Kabila, which connects Overlook founders to capital, customers, and co-founders. Husband to an amazing wife, and co-founder of the world's cutest twins. So if you could just tell us where you're coming in from in the comments. I expect this is going to be a very, very lively and engaging conversation. Please share this on your social media channels to invite your friends to join this important conversation, especially if they're early stage founders and they're trying to figure out, how they can connect with some angel investors. Also, as we get into this, please drop your questions in the comments and we will do our best to get to all of them. What am I excited about right now? I'm excited that we recently launched the Kabila Founder Mental Health Fund with a $25,000 grant from Techstars co-founder Brad Feld. Over there, every week we pay for mental therapy for founders in our Kabila community and our broader ecosystem. And our portfolio company founders, once we launch the fund, pay for that for founders who want it but can't afford it. I'm also excited that we're about to be promoting an event with the aforementioned Brad Feld happening next week for Mental Health Awareness Month, which is in May. We'll be talking about how investors can prioritize the mental wellness of founders in their portfolio companies. This will be a virtual event and exclusively for investors in LPs and funds. All right, so if you're a founder raising capital, you probably keep hearing people tell you to get an angel investor to write you an early check. And you're also probably like, where the heck are these magical, mythical creatures? I don't know no angel investors, right? Where are they? All right. So if that's you, we got a treat for you today to help you with this by bringing a what? An angel investor to the mic so you can meet her and learn about how and what she invests in. Today we have angel investor Samara Roberts, who will share three surprising things she looks for when writing an angel investor check. Welcome, Samara.
Thank you, James. I am happy to be here.
Yes. I'm so delighted that you're here. I'm so glad we were able to get that those tech issues sorted out that we were having. I don't know what that was about. That was I don't know what was going on
Listen,
with that.
I don't either, but we're here. That's all that
That's
matters.
it. We are in the building. That's exactly right. So y'all, I see the comments coming in. Nayara coming in from Houston, Texas. What's going on, Houston? Hey, Nayara. Shwini from in India. That's what's going on. We got Deja coming in from Tampa, Florida. Let us know where you're coming in from in the comments. Please don't forget to share this wherever you're watching on LinkedIn or wherever. We got some folks coming in from the D. Looking
Okay.
forward to productive discussion. God bless. Amen. That's what's up. So, all right, let me see what we got here. So let's get right to it, Samira. I appreciate you joining. How do we meet? Do you remember? I don't even remember how we met on LinkedIn.
You know what? I be posting on LinkedIn, and I think one of us just slid into each other's DMs, and then we
Th-
connected right from there.
That's it. Yeah, you're super active on LinkedIn. All right, so what inspired you to become an angel investor, Samara?
Yeah, so I was an angel investor before I knew I was an angel investor. I was investing ignorantly. But what really inspired me to become an angel investor, I love helping people. We have this thing in life where people love to overlook people and doubt people. But I'm the type of person I love to bet on people and take risks. So I just said, I want to be the one to invest into people's visions and dreams and just give somebody a chance. So that's what made me start getting into angel investing.
Love it. Okay. Yeah, well, I know folks listening to that, they don't know that you're like, that sounds real nice, but you're super serious about what you do. So we're going to get
Yeah.
into that in a second. Like, oh, she wants to help people. Yeah, but if you don't come correct, she's not going to help you. I promise you. Based on what I know about her, she's just not. All right. So you've been an angel investor since before you knew you wanted to help people. Cool.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. So are you currently deploying capital?
I am currently deploying capital. I'm always looking for something new to invest in.
Awesome. Okay. So what are there any particular industries that you like to invest in?
Yeah, so I really don't limit myself to one industry specifically, but I do have a consistent lens, right? So but I like to invest in companies that have strong fundamentals. So I'm big into investing into companies that's um, involved like mental health, healthcare tech, fintech. legal tech, that's a huge one for me. Fintech, AI, and like machine learning. However, I don't limit myself to one industry. It just has to make sense. So those are some of the industries that I invest in.
And typically, what size checks do you normally write?
On a low end, 5,000, and on a big end, 50K. However, I'm with some syndicates as well, and those checks are over 6 figures.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, cool. So let's get into it. I mean, I expect the comments are finna to be lit. Can't wait. We're here to talk about 3 surprising things that you look for when you're writing a check. So what's surprising thing number one?
Yeah, so what I'm looking for. So I want to essentially see who is on your cap table and why they are on your cap table, right? So did that advisor actually lead you to a key contract, or did they just promise you connections? So I'm looking to see, did you just give away equity, or did you use safe notes at all? Did you use performance-based agreements, revenue sharing? Are your investors founder friendly, or are they the type of investors that when you move on to future rounds, they're the type to argue with you in those rounds? So I essentially study cap tables like they are a prenup, I say. And what I mean by that is it's showing me how you have valued your time, your mission, your vision, and your future. So if you're just quick to give up equity, that's showing me that either one, you don't know how to negotiate, or two, you're just very desperate, which is a red flag to me. So you are essentially boxing yourself out of your own company and diluting yourself out of your own company. So I always tell people, founders, you need to protect your equity like it is your last name, right? So please understand terms like pro rata, founder vesting, liquidation
You say
preferences.
pro rata?
Yeah,
Pro rata. Okay,
yeah,
perfect. Got it.
yep.
Okay.
Liquidation preferences. Don't just accept money. You need to understand what comes with the money, right? So as you're building your cap table, build it in a way of when you are scaling, you are the one who is still in control. So that's the big thing that I'm looking for. Did you give away equity so quickly? And if you did, why? Are you just desperate? Do
Mm,
you not know about negotiation? And this advisor that you have there, who's on your team, they're supposed to be helping you, not even do anything like that. So that's
right.
the first
So
thing.
so that is interesting. Um, so you said something about safe notes. I seen you riffing about safe notes on LinkedIn. You got something to say about safe notes? This is not one of the 3 things. But I'm just going off topic here. You got something to say about safe notes?
Listen, I feel like people are
I'm
just so
listening.
quick. They are so quick to like for a check, right? So I think people automatically go into, okay, for me to get this check, I need to give up like 10% or 12%, 25% of this company immediately. No, you can go different routes. So me personally, like if I was in the funding round, pre-seed, seed, my first round, I would not be quick to immediately give up equity. I would go to safe note route. That's just me personally.
Well, but I thought you were riffing about people stacking safe notes. That's what I saw.
Yeah, they do sometimes. You need to be well rounded. You don't need to stay with safe notes. You don't need to stay with revenue sharing. You don't need to stay with equity. You need to switch it up depending
So,
upon the
but
round.
what's the problem with stacking a bunch of safe notes? Because you were, I mean, I've seen this point before. I thought it was a valid point. Like, what was your point about that?
About safe notes.
When
You
people are
need,
stacking safe notes,
yeah. So when you're stacking safe notes, I'm sorry. So when people are stacking safe notes, I essentially don't. I mean, it can be a good idea, but I don't necessarily think it's always a good idea.
why is that?
I'm so nervous right now. I'm so sorry. I've never done this.
Oh, and it's all right. No, so
I've
your
never
point.
done this before,
No,
y'all.
you're doing great, Samara. So your point when you did that before was about people diluting themselves
Yeah,
and not knowing
diluting
it.
themselves out of their own company.
Yeah. And they may not even be aware of it's like some kind of silent deletion that's happening. And so I know some
Yep.
people who've done that. And, when you have to pay the piper, it could be problematic. And I saw you right. And I was like, oh, that's a really smart take
Yeah.
you had
So,
there.
mhm. Yeah. So I've met a founder personally. He's starting over a whole different company. He was stacking his safe notes, and he didn't really realize that he was diluting himself out of his own company until they went to the exit mark. His company had sold, I believe, for like 50 million, and literally he got nothing. All of his investors had got their, their return, but he walked away with
Wow.
$0.
Wow. Yeah. So I think the important thing there is just make sure you're consulting with an attorney if you're
Yeah.
going to do that. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing to do. And I thought that was really smart of you to call that out on LinkedIn. So we got a couple of questions here. So Mina wants to know, how do you find out about the temperament of investors and what they'll do in future rounds ahead of time? That's interesting. It's a great question, Mina.
It is a really great question, Mina. So how do you find out about the temperament of investors and what they'll do in future rounds ahead of time? I always ask questions, be a curious mind, and build relationships. Don't be quick to, okay, you sit down with me today and like tomorrow you want to check. That I don't think that's smart. You need to ask questions like, hey, so if we were to work together, what kind of value would you bring here into my company? Like, would you actually advise me on what I should do within this round? Would you actually connect me with certain kinds, not just investors, but certain types of investors? Because there's a lot of investors out here with greed. So would you actually connect me with investors who are not greedy and who are not only looking out for their best interests, but who are looking out for my best interests as well?
Yeah.
I will also ask, you to ask your investors about their portfolio. Who exactly have you invested in? Is it okay if I talk to those founders?
1,000%.
So I can get feedback on, how you are as an investor or advisor, whatever you are within the company.
Yeah.
So I think you should really just be open-minded and a curious mind. And don't be so quick to just want to jump into a partnership with somebody.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad you said that, because I was going to, say the same thing. Just ask them for references, right? Who have you invested in? Can I talk to them?
Yeah.
Those founders will tell you, won't they? They will tell you. All right, so we got some folks rocking with you here. So you got this. You're full of so much knowledge from Nayara. Thank you, Nayara, for the encouragement. That's so good. They just said, you're doing amazing. I already received many gold nuggets that help me in the future. That's so good. So Delroy wants to know stacking safe notes. You want to tackle that one?
Yeah. So stacking safe notes essentially is, so you're not really, you're diluting yourself, and you're giving equity in a different way, rather than you actually rather than you actually giving away, like, how can I explain it? Like,
is it where you, so if you have a safe, you gave somebody investor A a safe at a $5 million post money valuation, right? And you come back and do another safe with a different valuation, and you got a bunch of different safe notes with a bunch of different valuations and discounts and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like becomes a mess. It could become a mess.
Messy. Yeah.
Yeah, it could become a mess. Messy. Yeah, hopefully that helps, Delroy. Mina, did that answer, was that answer helpful? And so Jesse wants to know, we love me some Jesse, is there room for a learning curve? I know a lot more now than I did even 6 months ago. Your thoughts to that?
Is there room for a learning curve? I know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Jesse. What do you mean by a learning curve? Yeah, just drop it in the comments. I'll put you back up. So Ashwini wants to know, do I need to go through a VC scout, or is reaching out to investors directly a better approach? You want to answer that? I'll share my opinion as well.
I mean, you can do both if you want, but me, if I'm giving advice, which I am, I will reach out to the investors specifically. I mean, you can email, reach out through LinkedIn. I don't think a VC scout is necessarily necessary. Just go directly to the source.
Yeah, 100%. Like for me, this is just me. I only talk to the bosses. When I'm reaching out, I'm going for like the most senior person I can get to. Some people have a different approach. They're like, oh, talk to an analyst or something like that. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Although some of those people in some cases can be somewhat influential, but I'd rather talk with a top decision maker, because that, in my experience, it helps me get to yes faster. Yeah. So Mina said, very helpful. Thank you. You hear go fast all the time, but I think it makes sense to know who will be at the table with you the next 10 years. That's 1,000%. So my next question, Samara, and we got to still get to number 2 and 3, because I knew the comments were going to be lit in this conversation. My question for you is, like, how involved do you like to get with your portfolio founders? And that kind of dovetails on this question here from Heaven. how have you supported companies during tough times? What does that look like beyond just money? Like, so how are you supporting your portfolio founders?
I like to get my hands dirty. I like to go as deep as they let me, quite honestly. So if their cap table is messy, prime example, I'm not the type of person. Okay, granted, yes, your things need to be together, but if I see potential and see that we could possibly clean this up, I may stick around. It just depends on the company, right? So I'm
Mhm.
the type of person. I'm like, we need to figure out, how did you get here? Why did you get here? Who
Yeah.
exactly are you working with? I'm the type of person who actually does bring forth connections, but not just anybody. I mainly connect with investors who have like the same philosophy as me. So I'll bring connections to the table. Also, when it comes to, I'm not an attorney or anything, but I need to know, like, obviously who is on your legal team. We need to make sure your legal documents and things like that are intact. Um, I'm pretty much involved with whatever the founder allows me to be involved with. I'm very hands on. So I'm not the
Okay.
type who writes a check and go about my business and wait for annual or, quarterly updates. So
Yeah. That's so good. So, one thing, so first of all, if you come to these calls regularly, I talk about this all the time about how you have to help investors connect, because investors invest in lines, not dots, right? So if this is your first time meeting Samara, so at the end, I'm going to put her email address up. You should reach out to her, right? Why should you do that? Hey, can I add you to my updates, right? Hey, can I send you my deck? And every time you have those touch points, it builds credibility and it builds trust. Like, one of the things that I did a while ago is, when I was working on revising my deck after we came out of Techstars, I was talking to an angel. I said, hey, do you want to help me kind of co-create this deck? Right.
yeah.
So now that accomplished a couple of things, which were, it allowed us to expedite trust building. It allowed him to see that I do what I say I'm going to do, that I
Mhm.
actually execute, and that I can take feedback. Right. And before the deck was even done, he was like, hey, can I put in $5,000? Right. Small checks matter. And
Yep.
I think that's a nice little hack to expedite relationship building. Samara just said she likes to get her hands dirty. So, like, reach out to her and take her up on that. So let's see. Jesse said what she means regarding evaluating a founder and their cap table and seeing if they're smart about their time and negotiation. What is a founder maybe wasn't great at the beginning, but it's improved? Will you not invest in it? And that's a really great question.
Okay, that was a long question, so I'm gonna read that
Yeah,
one more time.
yeah, but it was about when she was asking about, is there room for a learning curve? So
Yeah.
basically she's saying, if she messed up, somebody maybe messed up earlier, but they're learning and they're doing
Oh,
better. Your thoughts about that?
as long as you're improving and growing and learning from your mistakes, again, if it's something that we can fix, then I may stick around. Just because you might have messed up in an earlier stage or something like that, I'm not going to automatically be like, deuces. Um,
Yeah.
it just depends.
No, that's so good. Okay, so we still got to get to this next next two things you look at. I knew this was going to happen. We got, like, 11 minutes because we started 7 minutes late. Are you good to stick around to
Yeah.
12:37? Okay, good.
Yeah.
So what's the second surprising thing that you look for when you're writing a check?
Yeah. So I'm not expecting perfection necessarily, but I do need to hear logic. So, for example, if your CAC, if it's $75 and like your LTV is, I don't know, $120, that's pretty thin, right? So I'm essentially going to be asking you at a certain point, like, how are you going to increase your LTV? Are you going to like upsell it or something with retention? And then, like, if your CAC is high, how are you gonna how are you gonna sorry, my mind is blinking so
So
bad.
in your example, you said if your CAC was like $75 and your LTV was like 120, you said, or something like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah.
you're saying, so basically, what are your thoughts about? Is there like a ratio? I mean, I've seen some of the ratios that people like to
Three to
see. That's
one.
kind of a 3-to-1 with your LTV, lifetime value of the customer, over your customer acquisition cost should be. So your LTV should be 3 times your customer acquisition cost, you think?
That's just my thought process, y'all. That's not every. I'm sure it's not every investor. I'm just speaking for me,
Yeah.
specifically.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask, like, what's your plans to upsell like your LTV? Like, is it gonna be through upsells or retention? And then like if your CAC is high, like are you building out organic partnerships or
Right.
channels? And I'm also gonna want to hear about like gross margin and churn.
Yeah.
Because LTV without margin is essentially just vanity. So
Right. Because if somebody's going to give you $1,000 over the course of the relationship, but it costs you $1,500 to get them, you're out of business.
exactly. So
Yeah.
you'll need an MBA, but you essentially need to know your numbers better than
Right.
anyone else. So like if I ask you how are you gonna sell your product or something like that, and all you offer is like ads, that's not enough.
Yeah. Okay. So you posted something on LinkedIn the other day. Your posts always come up in my timeline for some reason. I guess because I'm always liking them or something. I don't know. But you posted something about a founder said that they had traction, and you started asking them all these next level questions, and it was like nothing, right? So that's an example. So what were they saying as an example of traction? You were like, not so much. Do you recall?
Yeah. Here's the thing. They weren't really clear on what they couldn't really give me clear answers on what I was asking. And that's where the problem really came in at. Like my philosophy is if you can't really tell me about like your CAC or your LTV within like 60 seconds, then you're not ready. That's just my thought process, because essentially you're not really knowing your numbers, or you might have made up numbers and they simply don't exist. So what can I do with that at that point?
Yo, nothing. So what if somebody's like super early? Because historically, angel investors they're betting on the jockey, not the horse, right? You may not have any customers. You don't know what your LTV is right now. You may have a spreadsheet with some projections.
Yeah.
Are you cool with that? Does that need to make sense? Like, what are your thoughts about that?
As long as you have an idea of where you are going. If it's just like a dream and you're kind of all over the place, I can't do anything with that. I don't just invest into dreams. You need to be doing something.
See, this is what I said. This is what I told them people at the top. You're like, oh, you like to be helpful. I'm like, yeah, that sounds nice, but she's not playing around. Don't let the smooth taste fool you. Right?
Listen, you got to be very strategic, and it still has to be logical at the end of the day.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Okay, so what's the last thing out of the third surprising thing that you look for when writing a check?
So I'm drawn to founders who are like quietly building their systems. So again, I'm aware that obviously when you're a startup, you're working on certain things. Again, as long as you have an idea of where you are going, then okay, that's gonna help me out. But having like already like a clean CRM would be helpful, like contracts to go. The way you're gonna hire, that helps. You need an actual hiring plan, not just we'll figure it out when we get there, right? So when I'm asking questions during due diligence, the best founders typically already have like their KPIs being tracked. They might have their, like their Google Drive is labeled or something like that. And their legal documents aren't a mystery. So I always say, even if you are like a pre-seed company or whatever, my belief is like you need to raise money like you are already running like a $10 million company type situation, right? Even if you are pre-revenue, like that's totally fine. Just keep your documents organized. Keep a founder update format, like even before like you have other investors come in. So I don't care about flash, but what I do care about is like your follow through. So if your deck is clean, but your data room is like empty, you're not ready.
Yeah. So we did so Abraham Williamson is our attorney, and we did a talk. I think that might have been when I was doing Tech Tuesdays here in Atlanta. He came in and we talked about the importance of being buttoned up legally. So you see me keep flashing this banner here. If you're trying to build a community, Abraham's in there. He moderates a space. You could ask him anything, so you could get some legal questions answered for free. And he's a great attorney if you decide you want to retain him. So like join our Kabila community. Just go to kabila.mn.co, join our community. We got a couple other questions in here. Mina wants to know, what about pivots? She started gain traction, realized she had the right problem with the wrong customer, and went all the way back to customer discovery. When you see that kind of pivot, how do you evaluate it? What a great question.
Oh, that is an amazing question. I realized you had the right problem but the wrong customer, went all the way back to discovery. When you say that kind of, how do you evaluate it? Oh, I'm hopefully this doesn't sound bad, but I personally have not dealt with that yet. But
Yeah,
I
no,
don't think of in this moment of how I would evaluate it. You're putting me on the spot here.
No, it's all right. Look, you haven't faced it yet, but so I have two thoughts as it relates to you in this question that Mina asked, which is a great question. One is, the best companies have average more than one but less than two pivots. So a pivot is not a deal breaker, I don't think. But I think for you, Samira, is you're more interested in like what Mina's thought process was in making that decision. Right. And then let's talk about, where you're going, why. Let's look at some numbers and, how you're going to go to market. What do you think the costs, et cetera, are going to be? I'm guessing that is probably how you would approach that. Is that fair to say or not?
Yeah. Yeah. That is 100% how I would approach that situation, quite honestly.
So. Okay. Cool. I mean, I think, crap happens, right?
It's always something new, I feel like. So I'm definitely, listen, y'all, I'm an investor, but I'm not perfect. Every single day, I'm still learning myself. So.
Yeah. And honestly, like Mina, like I'm in the middle of a pivot. Me launching Kabila Ventures, our venture fund, is a pivot. And that's a whole long story as to why we're doing that. But that's what we have to do. And, it's really hard right now for a variety of reasons, macroeconomic conditions, social, political, all these problems that we're having right now, and uncertainty and all the nonsense going on in Washington is making it way harder than it probably should be to raise the fund. But like whatever, and this is just me on my soapbox a little bit here, but I think as founders, one of the most important things that we can do is just simply control the things that we can control.
Yeah.
Like if things are out of your control, like we can't get all lathered up about it because we're going to drive ourselves crazy and won't be able to get out of bed in the morning. So like I've really gotten great at compartmentalizing. That's a skill I've learned from my therapist. And B, simply controlling the things I can control. There's a lot of things on fire over here and problems over here. But if I can't do anything about that right now, I'm not even paying attention to it. I'm just not.
Yeah.
That's just me. That's just me. So.
Yeah. And anyway. You guys, as you're like doing your funding rounds or wherever stages you are at in your company, I just want you guys to ask like these like mental notes, questions to yourselves. Like, what am I actually giving up beyond equity? Are you giving up long-term control, your voice, optionality? Can I ask yourself, like, can I clearly explain how like this money will move the needle type situation, not just keep the lights on. Like ask yourself, is this investor actually aligned with how I define success? And then like, lastly, I'm not going to give you a whole bunch load of questions. Like also ask yourself, like, how will this affect my cap table 2 to 3 months from now? Like I understand y'all be happy to get money or whatever, but you need to like actually think forward in that way also. So
Samira, I was wondering, what you just said is interesting, right? Basically, you're saying like all money is not good money, and that is 1,000% true. But it's also true that as a founder, it's hard to raise money in the early stages, and there's like this tension. And I know, we don't want to be desperate. I think it was Jim Carrey that said being desperate is like stealing money from the mob. You attract the wrong kind of attention. But yeah, I mean, it's this tension, and I know it's hard, but we have to be careful about who we're getting on our cap table, who we're taking money from. I think you're right about that. And at the end of the day, a lot of angels and early stage investors, and even some later stage investors, they don't really add any value anyway. Let's just be honest. I don't want to I don't think we should try to you don't, oh, you agree. Yeah. We'll try to like act
I
like
do.
some of these people are going to be so helpful, because at the end of the day, they're not. More likely, they're going to be hurtful. I mean, I had similar experience in the past, not going to get into that, but
Yeah.
you don't, you have to, as a founder, you have to optimize for your customers, right? And yourself and your family, and not your investors, period,
Yeah.
full stop.
And just to touch on that too, like you can ask yourself, like, okay, if I don't raise money this round, like, what can I do differently? Can you build slower, scrappier, or smarter without
Yeah.
outside funding? Like, it's easier said than done. Like, I get it. You're a startup. You're hungry. You want it, but always remember, it's always different ways to go about things. Like, you don't.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I've met some founders where they've come to me, and I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at them like, you don't need, you don't need my help. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing. I think you will be fine without me. So
Right.
just remember that there's always different ways to like
Right.
go
Right.
about
Right.
these things. So
So good. All right. So, folks, this is how you can reach Samara. This is our email address, samara@genzpartners.com. Use it wisely. Like, if it were me, and if I were raising, I would write that email address down. I would send her email, mention, put in the subject, live stream, with James or something like that, conversation with James. So she'll open it, and just, whatever you got from this conversation, I would put it in there. A sentence or two about what you're building, what you need help with, make a quick ask. That's just me. Like, that's how I would be moving. She said she's writing checks, 50 to 5 to 50K. She's part of syndicates that do 6-figure checks. I mean, she's very active. Follow her on LinkedIn, Samara Roberts. I would follow her on LinkedIn, engage her content. Again, the investors invest in lines, not dots. She's an angel investor. Build a relationship with her. Like, I hope that you found this conversation helpful. There was one question, Ashwini, I did not get to. I apologize. You want to know what's the best way to reach out to investor for seed, pre-seed funding? Yeah, LinkedIn, email, all that, bro. Like, all of it. Like, all short of like calling them on their cell phone and knocking on their home door.
I was gonna say, send a letter in the mail for all.
All of it, bro.
However you gotta reach them.
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's us this week, y'all. We appreciate y'all for coming through. If you're looking for a great community to come through, like, we have these conversations all the time, join Kabila. It's kabila.mn.co. I'm raising a fund. We're going to be investing in founders in our community. We're raising a $5 million fund. If you want to learn more about it, get free mental therapy, you can go to go.joinkabila.com/therapy. Learn about the Kabila Founder Mental Health Fund that I recently launched. It's a fiscally sponsored nonprofit. We're doing great work over there. I appreciate everybody, and we'll catch you next time. So somebody said she's not raising now, but love to add you to my update list. Perfect. Send her an email. Make that ask. That's what I would do. Love it. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Stand by, Samara, for a quick second when we wrap this up, okay?
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.